much of my life, I've been going from thing to thing to thing. I watched my dad growing up make millions and lose millions, and so I modeled that. So I was $1 million in debt in my mid 30s, and by the time I was 36, I was a full-blown alcoholic, drug addict, separated from my wife for 3 years. My wife at the time, she was raising our two kids. I wasn't really present. I wasn't really involved in my business. I wasn't somebody you'd follow. You wouldn't want to really hang around with me. I was really not somebody that had a lot of integrity. Not for a lack of trying. I just was checked out from life. That's why I asked that you get uncomfortable. Life's going to be really interesting. See, it's like when we do the same thing over and over, we get what? The same result. It isn't until we try something different that we get new things, right? So I believe life's a trap. I think life is 100% of a trap. I saw you write down. Don't do that. Don't take notes. Because most of us have two choices. We're either living out our dream or we're living out somebody else's dream. How many people right now, just be 100% honest, I ask this question almost every time I'm on stage. We all are playing at a certain level in life. Okay, I played video games growing up, and all I wanted to do was get to that next level. It doesn't matter if you're 70, 80, 90, there's another level to be had. How many right now think that they're playing at a level 10 in their life? Raise your hand. Okay, one gentleman in the back. Anybody else? How about, we'll call it a level 5. How many people would say between 5 and 10? Just raise your hand. All right, cool. Anybody feel like they're playing maybe a level 1 through 4? All right. So my ask of you today is that when you leave here, you figure out what do you need to do to get to that next level. That's the only thing I want you to take away from my entire time up here. Is what do you need to do to get to the next level? But usually what's in front of that question is a huge blind spot. So we don't know what we don't know, so we ask our friends and family for feedback. And we may say to them, I'm really struggling in life. What do you think I should do? And they'll spew out everything that they know they should be doing. They'll tell you because they want to see if you'll do it. And if they see you do it, then they maybe will try it themselves. So my life is very, very simple today. It was very complex years ago. I was born in Santa Cruz, California in 1972. Two parents that tried their best to figure out how to raise a kid who didn't talk until he was 4. I said 4 words. I would always point, and still to this day when I'm on vacation with my wife in Italy, she'll go, "Don't point. People don't like when people point." I'm like, "I'm sorry. It's just for 4 years. That's all I did." I'm like, "Look, do you like that?" And so I sometimes will get the eyes from the wife, "Shh, don't do that." I grew up, I have an older sister. I talk to my sister every day. I'll be 50 this October. I talk to my sister every single day because I grew up with 2 parents that divorced when I was 3 months old. My dad was gay, and I didn't know if I was maybe gay. I didn't know about my sexuality, my identity. I didn't know growing up. I felt awkward. I felt weird. I felt like, do I belong? And so I came up with this phrase about 10 years ago, and it's really identified who I am. It says, I spent a lifetime trying to look good to avoid looking bad. And in there was a series of things that I would do. So I hid out a lot in life. Does anybody ever feel like maybe they're hiding out a little bit from their life? It's okay. I promise you, it's part of your story. It's part of your journey. So hiding out, I ended up becoming a radio air personality. And what do radio air personalities do? They're in a booth, closed doors, music loud. They learn to tell themselves a lot of amazing stories, pretend that they're amazing singers and they could go on stage and sing. And actually, if you hear me sing, you would probably run the other way. So I learned to lie to myself and lie to others. But I also used it to coin really an amazing radio career. I've been in front of 100,000 people on stage before, brought on the likes of Willie Nelson, been on stage with, pretty much Tim McGraw, Pam Tillis, just country artist is what I ended up getting into. And in the 70s, if you would have known me, I hated country music. But here's an interesting thing: as you begin to look at your story of your life, if you want to go forward in life, stop looking that direction. Start looking at how far you've come so you can celebrate some little victories. I have a podcast called the Be Fulfilled Podcast, the real stories behind success. Success to me isn't money, it's time freedom. It's the ability to do with people that you love. So in my journey, one night, I split up with my girlfriend that day, and I go to the club to give away Garth Brooks tickets. It's August of 97. And in walks this just dream of a woman. She wasn't supposed to be there. Her girlfriend called her at like 10:30 at night. She got dressed. She went to the club. I saw her. I said some stupid, cheesy pickup line. I will not repeat it. She will tell you. I won't. She said, cool. I gave her some Garth Brooks tickets. And for what will be 24 years in July, with a 3-year separation, has been an incredible journey that has given us 2 boys, Ethan and Owen. Ethan is 23 and Owen is 20. I lost my dad 8 years ago to Alzheimer's. My mom's currently kind of in that stage too. And why do I tell you these things? It's because they're all part of me. If you're going to hear me speak from stage or tell, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to tell you the fact that I was on the verge of suicide until somebody knocked on my door one day. October 9th, 2008, my buddy John Montazeri, I was home. I was really in a bad place at my apartment, knocked on the door. He gave me a hug. And he says, your life has meaning and purpose, but how you're living it right now doesn't. And in that moment, all I wanted him to do was leave. I didn't want him to tell me what was wrong with me. Because for most of my life, I was in special education. Everybody was trying to fix me. My water polo coach in high school, I was a great athlete, told me I belonged to the military, didn't think I was good enough. Everybody has told us as humans what's wrong with us. But today, I don't care about anybody else's opinion. I care about the opinion I see in the reflection when I look in the mirror about this person who I wake up and choose to be every single day. And that's what I hope you guys begin to do. I don't care what your journey is. If you think about where you're at, you are the brand. It wasn't until 13 years ago that I really understood the concept. I was always putting a company name in front of me. It wasn't until I really realized, I'm like, wait, I got a great story. Yeah, I run a company with my childhood friend that I've known since I was 2 or 3. I said, yeah, there's 100 team members running around helping me to live out my dream. And in the meantime, I've created a Be Fulfilled journey, a podcast, and a brand. But the reality is it's about me, not in an egotistical way. This is what you guys all get to do if you choose to, is create your brand, your legacy. I stopped living out people's dreams, what people thought I should do, and started taking back control and started dreaming of what I wanted to do. So now my wife and I, October of 2020, I think there was this weird thing going on in the world. My wife one night said to me, she goes, I'd really like you to meet this person in our neighborhood. I said, why? And she says, because you guys have like almost 348 people in common. And I'm like, so that's Facebook. 99.9% of the people I don't know and I'll probably never meet, but somehow their profile and mine connected and we became friends. She's like, no, I think you should like this guy and meet him and talk to him. And so Nick, you've heard his name get mentioned a few times. We lived in the same neighborhood and we began to do walk and talks. And Nick told me his problems and I shared mine. Do you guys have an accountability partner, not your spouse or a best friend? See, because we can lie to our best friends, and I've learned that. Do you have a friend, that somebody you know, that maybe you don't know really, really well, but you'd like to? I highly encourage you, if you don't have an accountability partner in life, you need one. You need one like as fast as you leave here today. So what I'd like you to do is just now pick up your phone, permission. Text that person really, really quick and say, hey, when I get home from this conference that I'm at Mike Kim's, you are the brand. I'd love to have a really important 5-minute conversation with you, and I'm gonna give you a framework on how to have that conversation. 5 minutes, text that person really, really quick and say, would you be willing to have a cup of coffee with me? Or if you don't drink coffee, tea, would you have a glass of water? I don't care, but you need to have a face-to-face if you can. It needs to be somebody that you can look in their eyes and they can look in your eyes. It's transformational work that happens when you're willing to be uncomfortable. And if you guys can do that, so the QR code that's up there goes to a 5-day drainers and drivers course I created. It's 100% free. It's 5 days, something in the morning, something at night. By the end of day 1, you're either going to go, I'm not doing this, or I'm like, this is going to be the thing that I need in my life. And it's a blind spot question. And that's the question you're going to ask your accountability partner. And they're going to share something with you in that context that's going to make you really crazy and pissed off and frustrated, or really lit on fire and excited. So I only have one way I operate in life. So I'm either all in on something or I'm all out on something. I have no dimmer switch. I have zero. My wife knows I'm hot or cold. There is no Luke. There is nothing like that. I do that with everything I do in my life. I'm 100%. Right now I'm writing 2 books. They'll both be out by October 15th. Recording 50 podcasts by like June 15th. Running like a 50 some odd $1 million company, expanding to Nashville. I don't even know how to do that, but we're trying to figure it out. My wife and I left the city and we moved to the country in 35 acres. I have no clue, but now I got 4 ducks. Last week I didn't have any, right? My wife wants these little miniature Highland cows, and I'm like, what? Like, what are we gonna do? Then we started looking at the price, and like $9,000. I'm like, do they take care of themselves? I mean, like, so the reason I tell you these things is I didn't know a year and a couple months ago that I was gonna live on the country. But when I reflected back on my life, I've been around country music, all of it. And I thought the idea of like doing something completely out of my comfort zone is exactly what I needed. So the first day I got the property, our tractor got delivered. And the next day, around April, we had a huge snowstorm. And the snowstorms in Colorado are no joke. And all of a sudden, I take my tractor out thinking I know what I'm doing, but I don't. I drive down this long driveway. I have almost 9/10 of a mile that goes around 35 acres. And I get stuck. And it's just me and the DJ guy having a conversation. And the things I was saying to myself? You're stupid, piece of shit. Look what you did now. You buy some property and you just get yourself in trouble. Does anybody ever have negative self-talk conversations with themselves? No, I'm alone. Let's be real. Okay. So quickly, a person I didn't know comes out, and she is buried up to here in snow. And all you can see is the shovel and her pulling herself and she's like, hey, I'm your neighbor. I don't know if you know me, but do you need help? I'm like, I probably need a lot of help, but I don't know what to say because I'm paralyzed like I'd been most of my life. I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to raise my hand because, see, when I was in school, I was in special ed. I was in the classroom with all the kids that had problems. I just learned differently. So I've come to believe this. 0 to 6, preschool to 6th grade, we're good at asking questions. By 7th grade, maybe you went to a 6 through 8, they start making fun of you for raising your hand and asking questions. Then you get to high school, and if you raise your hand and you don't know the answer, if spitball, something comes to the back of your head, next thing you know, you feel really stupid. That was my life. I was afraid to ask questions because I was afraid of rejection, because that's what I felt most of my life, because I felt like, here's my parents. They don't love me. They split up. I thought I caused it. So I started looking back. And that's why I say, if you go back and look, I didn't cause my parents to split up. I didn't cause any of the crap that has really impacted my life. It was a part of my story. I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's your life's dumpster. You've been pushing it. You don't even know it. It's in between where you're at now and all the loved ones, your job, your career, your family, everything. You have a giant dumpster. And in there is everything you've been through, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you push it every single day into every person you know, every conversation you ever have, because all of your life is in that dumpster. And your goal is to get to the other side of the dumpster as fast as you can, open the doors, and start to recycle it. And that's when you become the archaeologist of your life. When you start looking at the things that you finally are going to own and discover and take full responsibility for. And it's when you look at those things, you begin to say, it wasn't that bad. But man, I made it like a movie. I made it a trilogy. I made it like prequels, the movie, and the sequels. Like, I made it everything. And the reality it was a moment in your life that didn't define you, but you allowed it to get you to where you're at. and you've made it a bad thing. And I'm a believer that it's time to flip the script. It's time in our lives now, more than ever. There's never been a better opportunity. You're in the right place at the right time with Mike. Wherever you're at, however you got here, whatever it is that you're working on, this is the moment. So you'll either leave here lit on fire like daily deodorant, like you put it on and you're like, whew, I smell good, I feel good, or you'll stop and you'll begin to stink. So what you want to do is apply it daily. What you learned here over the last couple days, you want to apply that logic daily. That's why I said just take one thing away. One thing. Do you know what that one thing is? Has anybody figured it out? Has anybody figured it out? Speak, talk, let's go, interact. What is it?
How to get to the next level.
So it's next level, right? Do you guys believe you're worth it? Yes or no?
Yes.
I can't hear you. I have a really hard time. I can't hear you.
Yes.
So stand up and say it then.
Yes. I'm worth it.
Because you're worth it. So this is where you build your brand. Say it again. I'm worth it.
I'm worth it.
I promise.
I promise.
I'm going to always tell myself I'm worth it.
I'm worth it.
Right? Now look at somebody and tell them that. Say, I'm worth it. Let them tell you they're worth it. All right, I got 10 minutes left. Have a seat. So here's the problem. You're going to leave today, and two things are going to happen. Either one, you're going to feel like you're lit on fire, not really, but you're just really motivated. But motivation doesn't last forever. You can be inspired until you're blue in the space, but that cheeseburger slides across your table when you've been on a diet for like a couple months, and no one's looking, and it's just you, and you're like, I'll take a bite. There goes that 2-month diet. You know, like you haven't had a drink in a while, and that drink across the table looks really, really good. No one's looking, I'll just do it. I want to help you guys when no one's looking that you stay engaged. Okay, so QR code that thing that's up on the screen. You can zoom it in, QR code that. It's 5 days. I promise it won't be a waste of your time. I didn't create it to be a waste of your time. What it's going to reveal is things that in your life right now maybe that are draining you, and things in your life that are driving you. And you may say to yourself, my life's really good. I'm like, yeah, but don't you think it could get better? What happens if there was a way to make it better? Like being here, to me, is like an amazing use of my time. When Mike asked me, I was super excited. I'm like, look, I got to get off the ranch. I got to go mentor somebody this morning. And then I got to drive down the road with one of my best friends. And I got to come out and hang out with one of my new friends, see a lot of other people that I know in the room, and then head back to ranch life. You know, in a week, our ducks went from like this small to like this. That's our life. And it happens really, really quick. The next thing you know, it's like almost out of control in so many areas. So I don't want to take up all your time. I'd love to open just a quick few minutes of conversation where you guys can ask some questions, because I want you to, I've left some open-ended things to get some questions and response. Okay? So any questions that pop up, don't be afraid to ask. Okay? Because there's a reason I left some things open. Mike can come up. There's a reason I left them open, because I don't have all the answers. I don't. I'm figuring out life just like you. I'm just willing to raise my hand and ask more questions today. Google, YouTube, more things. Talk to more people. Be in rooms where I don't know a lot. And just so you know, as I leave here today, I have so much social anxiety. I want to hide out. I would be the guy in the back of the room eating tacos right now if I could. Or all of you up here learning. Because this stuff takes a lot of courage for me to be on this stage. But if I don't get up and use it, I'll lose it. And then it'll be crippled, and then I won't get out of bed. So I know what I need to do every single day. My wife, we talked just a few minutes before I walked up here, and she basically said, go do what you love. And I love being with people more than anything. And to think that I wanted to take my own life. So somebody in your life right now wants to take theirs. Like my buddy John saved my life. He saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. So take the course. Discover some things about yourself. Invite your friend that you're going to be accountability partners with to join you. There's never been a better time. We were going through a pandemic and people didn't know how to communicate. They stayed crippled in their home for 2 years. And so help them. Okay? So let's ask some questions. Anybody got any questions?
I went 100%, man.
I love it.
So when you are making decisions today, tell me about your decision-making process. When you see multiple choices in front of you, they're all important. In your mind, they're all important. How do you drill that down to the key most important?
My wife and my 2 kids are the most important. So does it impact them? And does it take away from them? So if it's something impactful and it's like great, like people know this, 2015, I didn't travel. I literally was a workaholic. 2015 till today, I've been to Italy over 20 times. Not because I have a lot of money, just because I don't have a lot of time. And so I want to make sure I do things that impact my wife. So I take my wife places. So if I can't take my wife, I probably won't do that. If it's a business decision and it doesn't feel ethical, I probably won't do it. So I filter everything, and we all have filters. And you've allowed a lot of particles to get in the way of your filter. So sometimes you got to take your filter outside and hose it off and clean it and put it back in and realize you know what to do. You don't need an outside influence to change. So integrity is 100%. I told you when I walked up here, I had 0 integrity. I today only live with integrity. So in the journal you guys got, it says growth. Grateful, real, open-minded, willingness, teachable, and happy. I open my day with being grateful, and I end my day being happy. And I do that through that framework. You're going to learn about it inside that journal. I hope that helps. Any other questions? I can go home? Okay.
First of all, I love your beard.
Oh, thank you.
So my question is, how did you, because you was in a place where you was mentally checked out, how did you find the will to go from being in such a bad space to basically recreating your life? Was it that one conversation with John and he kind of held your hand through? Like something had to turn in you for you to actually commit to doing the work. What was that like?
I love it. I didn't think that my life at the time was worth living, but then I get goosebumps just talking about it. God sent an angel to my door, and I didn't think it was just like just worth it to just like piss it off and say, oh, screw it. I took it as like, okay, what are you trying to teach me? Like, what is that moment that you're trying to show me? And I've been in recovery ever since. I walked in on 12/15 of '08 and haven't had a drink or a drug since. And people say like, how? And I say, because I decided. Love's a decision too. You have to decide that you want it. So I just decided like, I want my life better. And being $1 million in debt wasn't easy to sneak away from. So the program has taught me one day at a time. I only live in this moment. I'm only present with you. There's nothing else. My phone's in my back pocket. It's on silent. I don't know what else the world could do so many things right now, but I'm only present here. So that's how I live my life. In every moment, I'm 100% present. And I know V talked a little bit about it yesterday, but I'm like, presence is the greatest gift you'll ever give anybody, but most of us don't even spend any time unwrapping it. We're so like, just give it away, it's free. Like, here you go, have it. I'm like, no. You want my presence, my time? I don't need anything in return. I just need to make sure that the people in the room, they're gonna take and get into action. So that's all I did. I got into action. I just knew that there was something better because God saved me for a reason. I knew that. I knew. So when I come up on stage, I said, God, may the words be yours and the experience be mine. That's my talk to myself before I walk up here. That's it. This is just a gift. Today is the gift. Like, I don't get tomorrow. I know I live an amazing, impactful life. And that's all that you all get to do. But you have to choose that you want something more. And I did. And it's available to all of us. It's not hidden from any of us. But most of us are wanting to live somebody else's dream in life. Like, go scroll Instagram, man. You can spend hours on Pinterest thinking this or that. Like, no. Like, put the toy to the side and spend a little bit and just design it. Pretend life was a blank slate. What would you want? What would you do? And that's what I began to do. I just began to create and ask myself. And then I said, I can do that. And then I just celebrated a little by little. And that's all life is for all of us. It's just a little bit of steps. And we just got to be willing to get up today and try something different. 2 more and then I'll walk up. Yes.
Hi, Tony. My name is Sarah. Thank you for being here. And you were touching on this a little bit already about being present. And I think it's becoming a larger part of the conversation now that how important it is to be in the present moment. But of course, there are times that we need to look back on our past, reflect on those mistakes, maybe without letting any guilt or negative self-talk hinder us. And we also have to take time to think about the future and start designing and start planning. But if we think too much about the future, sometimes it causes anxiety. And so I was curious, how do you operate between the past, present, and future?
I love it. It's a great question. So despite our past, we can create any future we want in this present moment. Despite our past, we can create any future we want in this present moment. So I don't live in tomorrow. I only live here. And it's very easy to do and very easy not to do. So what I do is just create your day. And that's available to all of you in the journal as a little tool. Just live in today. But then there's a very important tool, which is in the evening, and you rate your day. Just live in today. Don't try to think about tomorrow. I know you're all in a cool place. You know, it's Mile High, it's Denver, beautiful weather, there's baseball going on down the street. But why worry about tomorrow and let any of that fill up today? Take away from the genius of what Mike's put together here. Like, why take away from any of that? So the only way I know how to do it is the only way I can describe it. That in this very moment, I take my 2 fingers and I find my pulse. And I operate in that heartbeat. My heart, if it's still pumping tomorrow, is a total gift. That'll be grateful for that moment. I just live now. My kids, I can't change it. My wife, whatever she's doing with the farm right now, she's doing. Okay? Whatever my business partner's doing, he's doing. Whatever all those people are doing, and I just live in this present moment. Someone told me yesterday, my mother-in-law, she says, Tony, you're like either positive, you're just one of the most positive people. I said, well, yeah, what's the other choice? You're negative. So you just have to choose. Just stay here. Fight or flight kicks in, though. Fight or flight. And I had a panic attack really bad. I walked in IKEA one day. That was bad. And I was like anxious. I needed to go. And I called this guy on the phone and he says, what about stay? I said, stay. He's like, fight or flight? I'm like, he's like, stay. Just stay in this moment. And you do that enough, you get some good reps in. And you start feeling a little bit different about yourself. And then you realize, like, shoot, it isn't that hard to do. It's just I've never tried it before. So meditation is super important. And a good movie, if you guys want to watch it, it's The Shift by Wayne Dyer. The Shift by Wayne Dyer. Highly recommend it. Just an incredible human being that really helped me to find my shift in my life. One more and then I got to go off the stage. All right, we'll make you two the last. How about that?
Thank you. I was curious, knowing what you know now, when today something presents itself as a disappointment or a failure, how do you process that so it doesn't contaminate tomorrow and doesn't rear its head up yesterday, today?
No, great. So I'll try to keep it peachy. Life to me is just being a conduit. I don't let anything stay with me. I let everything pass through me. Because if it stays with me, then it makes a dam, and then things get backed up. My neighbor, Todd McGuire, always talks about it. Life's a powerful teacher. Life is just teaching us lessons. Are we paying attention and learning from them is really the question. Or are we still making them and we haven't learned yet? So everything, and there's a great quote, like, learn to discipline your disappointments because you're going to have them. That's all Jim Rohn says life is. The last 6,000 years and the next 6,000 years is just difficulties mixed with opportunity. So if we don't learn how to do it, then you'll just keep getting slammed against the rocks and you'll be like, well, how do I get away from this? I'm like, ask for help. It's the number one piece of advice when people ask me, like, how did you get to where you're at? I ask people like Mike or Nick or Mike who's filming. Like, how did you do this? How did you get there? Da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, I don't know how to do it, but why don't we figure it out together? So be bold, be willing to take risk. Life is just fun. It really is. I mean, shoot, when I was drinking a liter of vodka at night, I thought that was fun. Now I don't drink at all, and I think life's fun. So it's just making decisions. Last question.
Hi, Tony. I'm Sonia. Thank you so much for your time today. My question is, I have two-part questions, but your wife and your kids are your world, your everything. What advice do you have to have a loving, successful, fulfilling marriage and family? And also, would you care to share a moment in your life where you felt the most alive? Because you're so seasoned, you have so many experiences of life. We'd love to hear that.
Sure. Those are two really cool questions. So turning 50 this year, I reflected on being the archaeologist, and I looked back. And my grandfather died when I was 8. He was an alcoholic. I didn't know him very well. He wrote a book about kind of their journey from Germany to America. And they just titled it Such is Life. And I think that's kind of like what it is. Such is life. And so I decided for my 50th that I'm going to give my boys my 50 life lessons. So I'm currently 7 years old right now on this week's episode of my podcast. So I went back to my 7-year-old. I've been 1, 2, and I had my first drink at 2. I reflected, like I figured that out. I had my first drunk, passed out at 2 years old. I stole my parents' alcohol. They left me alone in a room, right? And then I learned that when I was 13, 14 years old, I got a fake ID, and my name was Alcoholic, and it was a Colorado driver's license when I lived in California. I mean, it's really interesting when you begin to piece your life. And everything that I do, I can't wait to run out of here. I really can't. I want to go home and be with my wife. But there was a time when I filed for divorce from my wife because I didn't think like I knew what happiness was, and I don't blame any of it on anybody. I blame it on me. I had to do a lot of deep work. There's never been a better time than right now. Never, because I can't change anything, but I can create anything. But if I can't be present, I won't see any of it. And I get thousands of things pitched to me all the time. And I'm like, live in this moment. It's the one that you were created to live right here, right now. Doesn't mean that you have to say yes or no. I just turn on the windshield wipers, clean off the bugs, get rid of all the stuff. Be really present that this is the only time it matters. And my wife and I are going to Italy for our 24-year anniversary. We're going to go see Sting in Parma, Italy. We're going to go see the Northern region. I'm super excited, but I haven't booked a damn thing other than a plane ticket. And that's not like me. A year ago, I would have been like, we're staying here, we're going to go do this, da, da, da. I'm like, no, just take that whole moment. Like Parma, I'm like, what's in Parma? And she's like, Parmesan cheese, Parma ham. And I'm like, and Sting, let's go. So just in this moment, just be. And I think everything else will begin to kind of like work your way. And I'll leave you guys with this. Don't do it, but visualize it. If you ever go to the beach and there's a body of water, what do they tell you? Don't turn your back to the what? Ocean. Why? What would happen? It'd sweep you away. I truly believe that is the framework that you should really try to visualize. Is the world is really saying a lot of things. There's a lot of noise. I don't watch news. I speak a little bit about spirituality. So I was very religious. I was born a Jew. Grew up in a Catholic family. Lived with a Christian family who happened to be my business partner. Married a non-practicing Mormon. I got everybody's opinion of this and that. And I'm like, that's awesome. I put it in a Vitamix, came to hit hooray and believe that there's got to be something bigger than you and me. And I'm just trying to figure that out. I got an intimate relationship. So religion is for people who are afraid of hell. Spirituality is people who have been through hell. I've been through hell, I promise you. So being spiritual for me works. So no news. And if I do listen to the news, it's because of Nick and he's telling me about this guy or that guy. And I'm like, I don't listen to any of that. So get rid of everything that isn't true and noble and praiseworthy to you. Anything. Kids, my wife is an angel for loving me. She loved me when I couldn't love myself. And she loved me through ups and downs and all of it to get me to the place where I am myself today. She just accepts me. She knows I'm freaking crazy. you have to be married to me, so I kind of think she's a little crazy too. But that's all it's about, right? And I think if that answers your questions, just stop looking for other people to give you the answer and realize that inside of you is everything you need. What we do is we get reassurance from the people around us that we're all on the right plane. Guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.